Attention passionate Detroit, Lions fans. Latest news, something big is happening in the NFC North and it could change the game. We're talking about a direct impact on Detroit Lions' path to another Super Bowl run, a power shift that could leave a division rival stumbling for years. We're bringing this to you firsthand. But before that, if you're a true Detroit Lions fan, subscribe to the channel to strengthen this passion even more. Show that you're also part of this family. Let's help each other reach 1,000 subscribers. Share with your FRINDS and Detroit Lions fans. Let's get to the news. Now, folks, if you've been paying attention to the Lions lately, you know that the team has been on an incredible upward trajectory. There's a real sense of excitement around Detroit, especially considering how they've been building their roster, their scheme, and their momentum over the last couple of seasons. But as always in the NFL, it's not just about the talent and the schemes. It's about staying healthy, having depth, and being able to adapt when injuries inevitably hit. And right now, the Lions are facing a pretty serious challenge in their pass rush, specifically on the edge. It's no secret that one of their biggest strengths last season was their pass rush, with Aiden Hutchinson leading the way as a true star. He's become the face of Detroit's defense, a guy who can both set the edge and get after the quarterback with relentless intensity. But as we all saw last year, the Lions didn't quite have enough depth behind him to sustain that pressure when injuries struck. And that's exactly where we find ourselves now early in this season. The news came out recently that Marcus Davenport, who is expected to be a key part of the pass rush rotation, will miss the upcoming game against the Baltimore Ravens. And it's not just a minor setback, it's a significant blow to Detroit's defensive front. The team announced that Davenport will be sidelined, and that leaves Aiden Hutchinson without his usual partner on the edge. For those who have been following the Lions, this raises immediate questions about how the team plans to adjust. Davenport, a veteran with a reputation for being a disruptive force when healthy, was brought in to add some punch to the pass rush. The truth is, the Lions didn't do a lot to bolster their depth at this position in the offseason. They seemed comfortable with what they had, perhaps believing that Hutchinson could carry most of the load, with some support from players like Charles Harris and rookie Jack Campbell. But injuries have a way of testing even the most confident plans, and right now Detroit's depth at defensive end is being severely tested. So, with Davenport now out for this crucial game, the spotlight shifts to the next man up. And as Jeff Riston of USA Today's Lions Wire pointed out, the team is looking at their internal options first. That would mean veteran Alquadin Mohammed stepping into a larger role. Mohammed has been a solid contributor in the league, and he even managed to get a sack last week in Detroit's blowout win over the Chicago Bears. That's encouraging, especially considering that he's been a full-time starter in the NFL, so he's got the experience and the ability to step in and produce. But here's where things get interesting, because the Lions are apparently also exploring options in the free agent market, looking for someone who can help in the short term and maybe even provide some long-term stability. And the name that's been floated around by insiders is Carl Lawson. Now, Lawson is a guy with a pretty interesting resume. He once earned a $45 million contract from the New York Jets, and he's known as a pass rush specialist. The problem is, he's also been labeled as oft-injured, which isn't exactly what you want when you're looking for dependable help. Last year, Lawson did manage to rack up 5 sacks in 15 games with Dallas, so he's shown flashes of the talent that made him a highly sought-after player. But the big question mark is his health. According to NFL transaction wires and reports, Lawson hasn't even worked out for any teams yet in 2025, which doesn't exactly scream confidence that he's ready to step in immediately and make an impact. It's a classic case of a player with talent, but a lot of question marks lingering around his availability and durability. Now, this leaves the Lions in a pretty tricky spot. The market for pass rushers is quite thin right now, especially for players who can make an immediate difference. The Lions were expected to try to bring back Za'Darius Smith, who had been a key addition last year after the trade deadline, especially after Hutchinson suffered that season-ending fractured leg. But despite reports that the front office kept in touch with Smith's camp, he ended up signing with the Philadelphia Eagles earlier this month. That left Detroit searching for solutions, and it's not just a quick fix. The team needs someone who can step in now, but also provide some stability down the line because, let's face it, pass rushers are hard to come by in free agency, especially those who aren't constantly battling injuries. The team's struggles on defense weren't just limited to that one game or that one injury. Last season, after Hutchinson got injured in October, the Lions really struggled to generate consistent pressure on opposing quarterbacks. That's a problem that reared its head again in the playoffs, especially in their early exit. They couldn't get a sack against Washington's Jaden Daniels in the divisional round, which was frustrating for players, coaches, and fans alike. That lack of pressure made it easier for opponents to pick apart Detroit's defense, and it's a clear area where they need to improve if they want to take that next step toward contending for a Super Bowl. Now, coming back to the current situation, the Lions are still optimistic that Davenport's injury isn't season-ending, even though he's officially ruled out for Monday night's game. Head coach Dan Campbell mentioned that more tests are pending, but he's hopeful that Davenport will be back later this season. That's a huge relief, because losing a player of his caliber for the long haul would be a serious setback, especially considering how important the edge rush is to their defensive identity. Campbell also expressed confidence in the depth they have behind Hutchinson, saying he believes the team can get by with what they have, which includes Mohammed and some other rotational players. But anyone who's been following the Lions knows that depth can only take you so far when injuries hit, and the challenge now is to find that immediate help to keep the pressure on the opposing quarterbacks. This situation also highlights a broader trend in the NFL, how teams are constantly balancing between trusting their internal depth and seeking outside help. For the Lions, it's clear that they're trying to do both. They're counting on Mohammed and other players to step up, but they're also exploring outside options, knowing that every game matters. With Hutchinson leading the charge, Detroit's defense has the potential to be elite, but that's only if they can keep the pass rush consistent and disruptive. The upcoming weeks will be crucial in seeing how they adapt, whether through internal solutions or by adding that veteran presence to help bridge the gap until Davenport returns or they find a more permanent fix. And speaking of the bigger picture, this entire situation underscores how vital health and depth are in the NFL. The Lions have been building something special, and their pursuit of greatness isn't just about signing the biggest stars or drafting high-profile players. It's also about how well they manage their roster through injuries, how quickly they can adapt, and whether they can find those hidden gems or veterans who can step in when needed. That's what separates good teams from great ones: resilience, flexibility, and smart management. Detroit has shown flashes of that in recent seasons, and this injury challenge will be a real test of their character and depth. Now, let's talk a little about what this could mean moving forward. If the Lions can find a way to patch things up on the pass rush, whether through Mohammed, internal development, or a late addition like Lawson, they'll still be formidable. But it's clear they need to prioritize this position in the coming weeks, especially if they want to keep pace in a division as competitive as the NFC North. The Vikings, Packers, and Bears are all improving, and Detroit cannot afford to fall behind because of issues on the defensive front. The good news is that the team has been resilient before, and under Campbell's leadership, they've shown that they can overcome adversity. But it's going to require some strategic moves, smart evaluations, and maybe a little bit of luck, especially with how unpredictable injuries can be. The upcoming game against the Ravens will be a real test for Detroit's defensive front without Davenport. It's a chance for other players to step up and prove their worth. And it's also a moment for the coaching staff to get creative and find ways to generate pressure without relying solely on their top stars. The Lions have always been known for their toughness and grit, and this situation will be a true test of that identity. Fans are hopeful that Davenport's injury isn't serious in the long run, but in the meantime, it's about making do and showing the league that Detroit's defense can still stand tall, even when faced with obstacles. All of these developments come at a time when the Lions are trying to establish themselves as serious contenders in the NFC. They've made significant strides over the past couple of seasons, and their roster, led by Hutchinson, has the potential to carry them deep into the playoffs. But as we all know, the NFL is a league that demands resilience and depth, especially on defense. The challenge now is to see how they respond to this setback, how they adjust their game plan, and whether they can turn this adversity into an opportunity to show their true character. In the end, the Detroit Lions are in a crucial phase of their journey. The injury to Marcus Davenport is a setback, no doubt, but it's also an opportunity for other players to step into the spotlight, to prove that they can carry the torch when needed. The coaching staff's ability to adapt and the front office's decision on whether to pursue outside help will be pivotal in the coming weeks. For fans, it's all about staying patient, believing in this team's potential, and watching how they respond under pressure. Because if there's one thing we know about the Lions, it's that they never back down from a challenge. They've built a culture of resilience and grit, and that will be tested once again in the next few games. But knowing this team and this coaching staff, we can be confident that they'll find a way to keep fighting, keep improving, and keep pushing toward that ultimate goal of a Super Bowl appearance. And now, Detroit Lions fans, I want to hear from you. What's your take on this? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Your opinion matters so much to us and to the Detroit Lions. And don't forget, I'll be back soon with more updates, so stay tuned for the latest Detroit Lions news. Whether it's a new signing, an injury update, or a game preview, we'll keep you informed and engaged because this is your channel, your community, your Lions. Thanks for sticking with me, and as always, go Lions.